So I've been watching the election happenings in Jamaica for quite a few months now. And I've noticed something, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is just my perspective. It seems like for the most part, majority of the MPs, member of parliaments, or prospective member of parliaments, those who are out there trying to win a seat in the new government, whatever the new government will be. And I've noticed that majority of these campaigners are actually telling the people what they can give them or what they will give them if they were to win their seat. Now, I haven't really heard much been said about empowering the people to go and earn what is being offered to them. For instance, they're saying, we're going to offer you a better way of living. That in itself is a broad statement that could mean anything. Better roads, safer communities, more utilities, cheaper utilities. It could mean a bunch of things. However, if they were specific and said, for instance, we are going to make it to where it's going to be more affordable to enter university, and we're going to put in place these options where you can take out a loan with zero guarantee, and if you go through university and you pass your subjects and you graduate successfully, we will forgive the loan that you took out. All the interest, and all you have to pay is the principal. Or something like, if you graduate successfully, then you'll only have to repay 50% of this loan. We will go ahead and forgive the other 50%. So now we know that you are qualified with an education. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to put in place jobs that will be there for you to get. If you do not get a job, then this is going to be on you. And so I'm not going to hand out anything to you. Now, that's just one thing that just came to me right off the top of my head. I haven't sat and written out in details the plethora of things that can be done to help to elevate a community or a people in that case. And of course, one size doesn't fit all, because we're not just talking about people of one age group or one learning level, which is why I said each individual is gonna probably need a different thing in their life, a different kind of empowerment to get going. As we know, not everyone will do well in school. Some will figure that they're better at doing things with their hands, and so a skill will be better for those. As there's also others that will be able to be drivers, for instance. You don't need much skills to become a driver, and you don't need much education to become a driver. And when I say driver, like a bus driver, for instance, or even a delivery driver. And then there are those jobs that require both the skill and the education. Whether you want to be in the tech field, or you want to become an airline pilot, for instance, or something like that. And the list goes on and on and on. So we can't just say, okay, we're going to better education, because we're still going to leave some people behind. And it can't just be the tech schools, art NTA that we're going to think of, because those that are not too mechanically inclined are going to be left behind. So we have to take, and I know people use this word kind of, loosely, but a holistic approach to the entire thing, right? And we have to try to find the happy medium in most of what we do. Now, obviously, we can't rely on, like, the Prime Minister to go ahead and put everything in place. This is the reason why we have MPs within these constituencies to oversee the constituent, right? I look at it as if it's a school. For instance, you have the principal, which is the Prime Minister. He oversees the operations of the school. However, each class or grade has individual teachers that teaches certain subjects to the students. And so it's the same way where you have the math teacher teaching math, the English teacher teaching English, you have sociology teacher teaching sociology, etc., etc. Geography teacher doing their geography. Now, your principal, of course, they might not have 20 subjects. They might only have 10, of course. However, their expertise when they were teachers, and let's hope that principal at one point or another was a teacher and they're not just managers, but their expertise might be in biology, for instance. So for them to step into the math classroom and teach math, it would be a challenge, right? So it's the same way. And there's a thing that I think of and I thought of, and I think that this should be the case, but it might not always be practical, that a MP or a member of parliament lives within the borders of the constituency that they're in charge of. So the constituents, meaning the people, can see them on a regular basis, and they can actually see and feel what the people are going through. Of course, they might choose the best part of this constituency to live in. I mean, because when you take constituencies like parts of St. Andrew and parts of Kingston, where you have the parts that we normally refer to as ghetto or garrison, and you take the suburbs, most MPs are probably going to want to live in the suburbs for various reasons, and I can understand that, of course. However, when you have an MP that lives in St. Thomas and their constituency is in Westmoreland, then that's going to be somewhat of a hassle right there, because do they drive back and forth to Westmoreland every day? That is what I'm thinking of. And then it seems like, with the way things are right now, and has been, as a matter of fact, they keep tricking the people. That's the consensus out there. Politician tricks the people. They come around when it's election time. You see them, they do the campaigns. Motorcades come through, they make promises. When the campaign is over, election is over, you don't see them again. No. It goes on and on and on. And it's just swapping one for the other. Because you give one 3 years, they do bad, and then you put in the other one that was there prior to this one that got 3 years, and they do 10 years, and you keep going back and forth, and it's the same people. And I noticed that a lot of politicians will complain about how hard the job is or how little money they're making out of it. Yet they will fight, some of them, they will kill it literally to stay in power for years. I mean, they will stay in power for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, literally. So if it was so bad, give me the motivation to stay in there for this long. So looking at that, it tells me that it's not as bad as they make it. And the other thing is that I notice, you'll see sportsmen and women go out there and they'll perform great for themselves and the country, of course. It's mainly for themselves, by the way, but the country will get something out of it. But I'm talking about the top athletes. I'm not just talking the ones who try to compete and make it to the top. They never made it to Olympics or World Cup football or whatever the case may be. So I'm talking about the top athletes that actually made it to the top. The ones who played for the top clubs across the globes. You'll see those same athletes in years after their retirement or after stop playing the sport being broke and being pauperized. But point to one politician, give me one, that after their retirement from politics was ever broke. So that's something else that tells me that there's something to this politics. I mean, I know that a lot of politicians aren't even scholars. They're not even Rhodes scholars, or some of them don't even have college degree, to be honest. Because someone comes out as a leader and they say, okay, yeah, we're going to take this person and we're going to let them be the area leader, and then they become the counselor, and all of a sudden you hear that they are the MP running for this section of this part of Jamaica or that part, and all of a sudden they are there, and you see them on TV giving out speeches and whatever, and sometimes you gotta wonder what they're saying because it's not there. Anyways, how come you've never seen any of them begging money in the streets, going broke, living in shambles, when there are other people out there that we know that are hardworking and we know that they're making money, that are living in shambles? And of course, I mean, I'm not just going to generalize, because not every sportsman or sportswoman are living like that after they're through competing in whatever competitions they compete in. However, if you could point to me in the direction of one politician that has been suffering, so at least from that we can deduce that when it comes down to finances, they're not hurting. And don't tell me that no politician is stupid and no politician is a spendthrift and all that, because I know for a fact that's not factual. So tell me, there's got to be something to it. But then there's this thing about money and power. You get money, you want power. You get power, you want money. And I guess they both go hand in hand. And that is probably one of the reasons why these politicians, though they might come out and say, hey, I'm not getting enough money or that, stay in there, because some may be siphoning off government money or government resources, be it vehicles or the concessions that they get for importing whatever it is, or even the traveling allowance that they use sometimes when they're not even going any place. So they'll say, hey, give me this travel allowance for this trip, and they're not going anywhere. Or the traveling allowance to take their family overseas in trips. So they go to a meeting that lasts for a day, but yet they're going to go to that area for 1 week, and they bring their family, and it's paid for by taxpayers' money. Now, I'm wondering to myself, when the people wake up and start demanding that, instead of giving us promises about what you're going to give us, and I understand this, obviously it's a promise because I can't make you do nothing. Give us promise about how you are, tell us how you're going to empower us to earn for ourselves, so we don't have to beg you or beg anybody else, or we can fend for our family. When are we going to start demanding that? And if they give us those promises and we see that they're legitimately trying to make these promises come into effect, but there's something that's stopping them, we could say, okay, we give them another try. But if they're not, then we just basically boot them to the curb next election. And I know this is a bad thing about politics and elections. Sometimes it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. Because if you say I'm not going to vote, then it's like you're already giving somebody the edge. Because your one vote might have been the one that would have made a difference. But you didn't vote, so you give them the edge. And if you go and vote for somebody else, you know, it might even be worse. So it's kind of sticky situation. But what we need to demand is that they get rid of these people. So we shouldn't be voting for parties, but we should be voting for the policies that the personnel are going to put in place. And once again, like I say, I don't expect the Prime Minister, and obviously, by the way, we don't vote for Prime Minister anyways. We vote for the MPs, and then the Prime Minister is put in place by their party. But anyhow, when will we start demanding that policies are what we out here to vote for? If you're not coming with the policies, we're not going to vote for you. I think that is what we need to start thinking of. And forget about tribalism or tribal politics. We all are one. It don't matter who's running the country, we all are one, and we all are probably facing the same dangers. We're facing the same struggles. So when a politician comes around once every 4 years or 5 years and give you a goat that's dead, by the way, meat for you to cook and have a nice party, and then they're gone, we all are left in the same situation. So we need to ensure that we demand of our leaders what they were put in place or what we vote them in place to do. Because remember now, they came and they asked for our vote so that they can go into the house and do the good thing, and do the right thing for the country, not for individuals, by the way. So likewise, each constituency, the MP should be doing what's right or what's best for the constituency, not just for his party people, but for everybody. Because if you're red and you win, you're the MP for the entire constituency. If you're green and you win, you're MP for the entire constituency, not just for the people who wears your color. So we got to put that in the back of our mind and let it sit there and marinate. And again, this is where it's going to be different agendas, because once again, like I said, different constituencies have different needs. For instance, in Kingston, they might not have the water issues and maybe the electric issues that people in, let's say, rural St. Anne or maybe rural Manchester has. Theirs may be road. In Kingston, it might be something else, you know. So each MP can be going out campaigning on the same tenets, unless they're from similar constituencies, then I can understand with similar problems. However, I've noticed that over my years living in Jamaica, people have been voting for political parties, not for policies, not for the betterment of their country or their constituency and country overall, but for their party people. And when their party wins, they're expecting only people who voted for their party to benefit from anything that the country has to offer. Not realizing that not only people from their party pays taxes, but taxes should be paid by people from both parties. People from the country that are of a certain age should pay taxes, and so it's not just one color or one side money that is helping to run the country, but money from taxpayers on both sides. Please think of that. Let me know what you think. Obviously, these are just my thoughts and my views. Yours might be different, and there's no problem with you respectfully disagreeing with me or me disagreeing with you. We can do so civilly, and no need for us to quarrel or fight. We can just hear differences and If we need to change our mind and our views based on what we've heard or what we've seen, then we do so. But we just got to be true, you know. Think of each man as your brother or your sister or your mother or your father. And think of what you would like for those family members. And wish the same for these people. Not, this man is not part of my family, so he's my enemy. So just think of that and let me know your views. Although I should have said that differently, because I know there are a lot of people who hate the guts out of their parents, their siblings, and some have good reason for doing so while others don't. So I maybe should say, think of yourself. Think of yourself and everything that you'd like for yourself. I hope you be able somehow to find it within your heart to say, okay, you know what? I think these people deserve the same just like me, so we're all one. So let us work together and see if we can achieve. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe, whether you agree or disagree. Thanks again. Have a great day.